What's going on, team? Welcome to an episode of the Keep Going Podcast, Season 2. This is your co-host, Luke Wheat, coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Before the show starts, make sure to follow us on our socials, okay? Twitter, the Keep Going Pod, Insta, the KG Podcast, and YouTube at the KG Pod. Just a reminder that we are not psychiatrists and not psychologists, just a couple ex-athletes trying to make a difference and end the stigma of mental health. Thank you guys for listening, and let's get to the show.
Good morning. This is Pat O'Malley with the Keep Going Podcast, athletes shining a light on mental health. We got episode 86. I am out here in beautiful, rainy St. Charles, Illinois. Shout out to Levi and Nicolette. Beautiful wedding service last night. But more importantly, it's a new day, and I got David Mitchell out there in Steamboat. What's going on, Dave?
What's going on? Yep, I'm out here in Steamboat, Colorado today. Got some work later today, but ready to shoot the pod. How you doing, Katherine?
Good. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for asking me to come on.
Well, we're excited to have you. And as former athletes, the athletes that you impact on a daily basis, and just we'll go into all that. But we're super excited to have you, Kat. And Kat, where are you coming out of?
So I live down in Salem, Virginia, kind of on the outs, a little bit between Roanoke and Blacksburg. So down in Southwest Virginia.
Yeah, a little Virginia love. I know we touched on it last time you were in Chicago. I am with Jake Peterson today he's out of Virginia Beach. He was a former guest on the podcast as well. So we love having some Virginia peeps on the pod, that's for sure. But Kat, someone we like to touch on from the jump every week is, what have you been doing for your mental health? Like, I know the week ended, it's Sunday, we're going into a family day today. What have you been doing to help your mental health lately?
Yeah, great question. So this is something that I would say in the last couple of years I've started to really take seriously.
Yeah.
And that is just having some time to just eat, So I really use Sundays for that. Kind of just take a breath, take a minute. I'm a big planner, so I kind of plan my week out, get my grounds a little bit, and just kind of prepare myself for what's coming in the week. So a lot of that just involves, like I said, taking a deep breath, planning everything out. Being a working mom, I'm always having to plan for my son as well. So, just making sure everything is in line. That way I can have a week where, not too many things are hitting me at once or catching my surprise. And, that's kind of my way to stay sane for a little bit. And then head into the week with a positive outlook and feel ready for what's to come.
I completely agree. And I think Rich Jurgen was our first ever guest. He's a former NCSA guy, Clemson football player. Love Rich.
Great.
And something that Rich said all the time was preparation breeds confidence. And if you're prepared for the week, if you're getting ahead, if you're taking those extra steps, with the kiddos, right, with your husband, with your job, I mean, that breeds confidence to go out and get the job done. So I absolutely love that. And shouting out another former guest, Ned Colleran, doing something the day before that helps the day after puts you ahead. So I love that. Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, it takes 5-10 minutes. Plan the day out before you start it. Have a plan going into it. At night, I like to do at night. Plan my day out. What am I wearing? What am I doing? What am I doing morning, mid-afternoon, night? Plan everything out. Have a plan. That's huge for your mental health and just feeling good about yourself and be ready for the day, so you don't have too many obstacles to overcome. But
yeah, for sure.
Anyway, I have another question for you, talking about mental health. What does mental health mean to you?
So mental health, like I said, it's something over the last couple of years that has really kind of hit my heart because it's something that I think is so important, especially coming from, I'm a millennial. And I feel like when I was in high school and when I was in college, it really wasn't something we discussed too much. But it's nice because as adults now, we're really starting to learn about the importance of it and helping out, the younger generation as well. To me, mental health is keeping yourself not always happy, I don't think all the time, but keeping yourself in a spot where you feel that you are living your best life. a life with a purpose. You know, that comes in such different forms with people. And I think that, you know, we live in a world right now that can be really tough.
Right.
You know, really tough. And it's coming from so many different aspects of just life. So I think you're keeping your mental health in check and really taking that on as a responsibility. It's just such a great way to protect yourself, protect others around you, and really be somebody that can just impact the world and do that by, you know, loving yourself and taking care of yourself to be the best person that you can be for that, not just yourself but others around you.
I love that
Yeah.
answer. We're
Yeah,
three
definitely.
minutes
It's
in
huge
and we're
to
cooking up.
be the
Go ahead,
best
Dave.
person that you can be every single day, no matter what you're going through. There's so many challenges and obstacles thrown at us today, and our mental health is so important because that can break down a lot of people um, inside of sport and outside of sport. So just focusing on yourself, knowing what's best for you, and doing what's best for you every single day is huge for your mental health.
Completely agree. And I think it's something I've gone on, and I'm going to die on this bridge, but I've talked about it all the time in this podcast. Like, just because things go wrong, right? Just because you have to punt and pivot on certain things doesn't mean it's a 0 day. I think if you avoid those 0 days and you continue to work on yourself, your mental health is always under construction. It's not a perfect science. So just continuing to build those brick, like Kat is explaining, I think is huge for not only our athletes and coaches, but general people that listen to this podcast. So, Kat, like I said, that fires me up. I mean, that was a great answer. I really appreciate you being open and transparent there. What I do want to do is I kind of want to intro you better for our listeners because you have such a great resume, not only in sports, but in the game of volleyball. So tell me about younger Kat. Talk to me about when you got the volleyball in your hands and kind of what you've run with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, wow. So let's go back. And it's so funny. I was laughing with a friend the other day. The picture that you posted, I said, why do all of my pictures from volleyball, they're starting to look like oil, like
Oh my
how,
God.
you know? No, so I was really lucky. I come from an extremely supportive family. My dad was actually a high school football coach, so sports is like everything we've ever known in my life. It's everything we still do. So I actually really thought of myself as a basketball player. And then I hit about ninth, 10th grade and I started really getting into volleyball, fell in love with it, and just kind of started rolling with it. I was lucky. I'm one of those where I went to the perfect college for me. I went to Bridgewater College here in Virginia, and it was just one of those perfect fits. I had the best college experience, fantastic coaches. My, you know, teammates at the time are still some of my best friends I have. Um, but um, but yeah, volleyball is really, you know, we talk about the importance of sports and volleyball, discovering my love for volleyball has kind of really taken over my life
Yeah.
because it's now my career, it's now my job. And it's funny how one little thing can really set you on a path. You know, I played college volleyball. I, you know, graduated and then I wanted a career where I got to travel. I was young, you know, wanted to travel. So I was working actually in an admissions office at Holland University. And the athletic director, after a couple of years, came into my office and just said, do you have any interest in coaching? He was like, you know how to recruit. You work in the admissions office. You understand financial aid.
You have it. You have it. Yeah.
This conference, because the school that I at was in the same conference as the one I played at. So, you know, just saying yes to that decision completely altered the course of my career, my life. I was so appreciative of it. But yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, literally sports was everything growing up. We traveled to all of our travel tournaments and all of that. And I was just really lucky to have parents that were so supportive and gave up their time and energy and probably a lot of money
Yeah,
to
shout
be able to
out
help
your
me out with
parents.
that.
Yeah, shout out your parents. We're a big shout out podcast. Talk about them in this process for you.
Yeah, my parents are just, you know, my parents are interesting. They were both first generation college students. My dad was a college football player. And so when it came time to really focus on, you know, the recruiting process and finding that right school, having parents that didn't mind traveling to all these different college campuses to tour. And I can remember my mom being up in the stands back in the day with the old school video camera,
Oh yeah.
videoing my games and all that. Literally never missed a basketball game, a volleyball match, a track meet. Like, they were literally everything. So I'm very, very lucky, and I'm very aware of how lucky I am with them.
No, I love that. I love that. I'm gonna kick it over to Dave. I know his parents have played a huge role. I actually, I don't know if I ever talked about this on the pod before. Dave actually played for me at Rock Valley back in the day. So I took Dave's family around on their recruiting tour. And I remember just being like, this is a family that you want to have in the program. So I'll kick to Dave, but my mom was the same way. My mom used to come to every game. She used to cut coupons. She knew nothing about baseball, but it was the love and support of watching her two sons play in college. I think that's special, and it brings me back. So I appreciate you, Kat. Dave, what do you got on that?
Yeah, it's always good to have a good support system around you to support your decisions throughout your athletic and professional career. I want to transition into maybe a little bit of your coaching career as well. Being around athletes every single day, what can athletes do to feel more comfortable and confident on the field with so many things going outside with their mental health?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I give a lot of credit to the kids right now that are in college and kind of around that age, because they are very aware, I feel, of mental health. I know that is something when I was coaching, we discussed a lot. We really, the biggest thing with my athletes is, so I coached at Holland University, a small D3. It's actually an all women's school. It's a very unique institution. And so, I had, when I was recruiting athletes, I really only recruit in my backyard. And, I recruited national. I had kids from, and, I used to just really make them aware that we have resources. And there are so many available resources out there. I always try to meet with my kids frequently. Sometimes it was in a formal setting. Sometimes it was just on a bus traveling to get back for us. But I just always wanted to make sure they were aware of they had this. Where I was at, every year they had like 10 sessions. And so I would tell them, even if you're feeling fine, go use these resources that are available. I had an open policy. They were always welcome in my office. Very tight knit community, and so they always had people. But sometimes that's just not enough. I just always wanted to make sure that they do have the opportunities to go and talk to someone, or if they just needed space to be, just to exist for a little while with no pressure of
Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think it's something that when I was in my 20s, I wish I would have done better as a college coach. We learn like everything else. And I think it's in this process, being accountable, being vulnerable, and going, okay, I could do this better the coming year. Let's make adjustments, like the counseling sessions and having those one-on-ones, and also being vulnerable to know, okay, I'm not the best person to have this conversation. Let's move professionally, because it's not worth sitting there a year from now and having something terrible happen when you kind of are that trusted adult. So the fact that you were advising your athletes to use those resources no matter what says a lot about who you are. And I hope coaches that are listening understand, okay, no matter where these athletes are at in the process, they just want someone to care and believe in them. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it's so important to have those resources available and to make sure that your athletes are aware of the resources. So maybe if they're maybe throughout their athletic career they don't feel super comfortable with their coach, they can still use other resources to talk about what they're going through, and just having awareness of, okay, I need to talk to someone about what's going on in my life. I don't feel the best right now.
Right.
I just need to talk to someone. And
Yeah.
there are other resources out throughout the school, coaches, players, talk to someone.
Yeah, I can't stress it enough. And we talked about it last couple episodes. We've had a very volleyball heavy season too. We had Ashley McDonough on, Scott Reslow, just to name a couple. And like the big thing that they harped on was if you reach out to someone, right? They reach out to Scott or Ashley or yourself, Kat. Not everyone is your cup of tea either. Like it's okay to reach out to someone and have it not go the way you wanted. Maybe that person was having a bad day, or maybe that person didn't know what to say. Keep reaching out to people, keep using your support group. You're going to look back, and when you get married and when you have these big moments in your life, the people that stuck around, and that's why this podcast got created. I do have a special cameo that I'm going to bring in a second here, but he's actually sitting right next to me. We won't go to it next, but we'll go to the keep going moment a little bit here. All right, Kat. So we went through your coaching career. I appreciate you touching on that. Talk about what you're doing now, because I'm obviously a big believer, but not everyone might know what you're doing now. So talk about your career right now in volleyball.
Yeah, awesome. So, okay, so when I was coaching, I used to use this little platform
Never
called
heard of her. Never heard of her.
to recruiting. And I did get out of coaching. I still wanted to have that foot in the volleyball world. So I am now a senior volleyball recruiter. I get to work with athletes. I used to say all across the country, but it's actually all around. Work with great international kids. And so I work with them with their volleyball recruitment. I make it kind of a family thing. So I really push to meet with the kids and the parents. We work a lot on connecting them with the right schools. That's one of my biggest things. I'm like, I tell my families all the time, I don't want to just connect you with as many schools as possible. I
No.
want to get the, you know, so it's a lot of communication, a lot of really getting to know these families so that we know what their goals are, what we can do to better situation, and get them to accomplish that goal of playing college sports. I mean, college sports to me is a life changer.
Yeah.
When I did my master's, my final thesis was all about how, kind of long story short, how, especially if you're a first generation college student, playing sports really helps getting you to that final goal of graduating. And I tell my families all the time, I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, we're working to get that degree,
Right.
and we're like sports along the way, and it's really going to be just a great experience, and it could be a total life-changing experience. So I'm as a recruiting coach, I am huge on really focusing on the great volleyball experience, but also a really strong and personalized academic experience as well.
I think that's so powerful for our athletes to hear someone with your background, with your resume, talk about finding the right fit and why that school is a right fit, right? The academics, the social side, playing volleyball for the next 2 or 4 years, depending on the level. I think, and I talk about it with Dave all the time because, like, we listen to Ed Milet, right? And we talk about when someone's face changes when they're talking about something, and the way that you light up when you talk about the game of volleyball, and you talked about your family earlier, it makes me smile. It really just makes me happy. So just athletes listening, finding your right fit and being with trusted adults that care about your future. Kat Lawson is the prime example. And I talked about Dave earlier in the podcast. I would not know David Mitchell on this level if he didn't trust me back in this process. So thanks, Dave. I appreciate you too, man.
Absolutely. And taking that leap of faith into an opportunity, when an opportunity presents yourself, you're not always going to feel super comfortable. For me personally, I felt very uncomfortable with my decisions going in. But once you get in, it's just a great time, great blessing.
Yeah, man.
Great experience.
Comfortable being uncomfortable, man. Comfortable being uncomfortable and taking that leap of faith, knowing that people have your back. I think when you're committing to a school, it's such a big part of your journey. Look at this podcast today. Like, I wouldn't know Kat if it wasn't for this, this world of college recruiting. So I think it's such a big leap of faith. So just trust people, go in there with the right support group, and good things will happen. But Kat, I do have a special cameo. We do ask the Keep Going podcast, the Keep Going moment, something that broke you down, something that got you to your knees and you just got back up and kept going. But I'm going to kick it over to my friend Luke Weed here.
Absolutely. Got to jump on the mic right here. Hold on one second. Levi Palomo, congratulations. Your wedding got the best of me. So I apologize for coming in a little late this morning. But no, thank you so much for coming on this morning. There's one question that I always love to ask our guests, and Pat may have already asked this already, but if that is the case, that's okay. Talk to me about the people that inspire you. Talk to me about the people that walk you through life and kind of take you to a different level every day.
Wow, that's I've got like 100 people. I feel like
yeah,
rolling through.
that's how it always is. That's how it always is.
Wow. I've worked with a couple of athletes that they're against all odds. They're against all odds. They maybe live somewhere where there's not a bunch of options when it comes to schools, or maybe they struggled with during COVID with their academics, and academically they're not where I know that they are because they are so incredibly hard. But COVID hit them pretty hard, the staying at home and all of that. So to be quite honest with you, I think a lot, and Matt knows this, we with all different kinds of families on a daily basis. And I've got a couple of families and one kid in particular where, she just keeps going, and
Yeah.
it does not matter if she doesn't have a ton of support. It doesn't matter that she didn't have a great volleyball tournament. She is super positive. She is very goal oriented, and
Yeah.
I really admire her just because she doesn't take no. She and I had some really, like conversations about her goals and how are we doing this week with what I told her to do, and her drive is incredible. And to be honest, I've actually told her before, I've said, I live to have your drive. You do not stop going. And she doesn't make excuses. She is determined. She knows what her long-term goals are. And I think seeing that from someone who is 16, 17 years old is, I don't know, it's very motivating. It really is, because it shows me how tough and resilient people can be. And she's just amazing. So I would have to
Absolutely.
I've got a couple that I work with, but I got one in particular that she keeps moving and she's really impressive.
Absolutely. Well, Pat kind of alluded to it there, and it helps that you brought up an athlete like that it does not take no for an answer, no matter the circumstance, keeps it moving, keeps going. Tell me, Pat, Dave, tell us your keep going moment this morning. Tell us some adversity that you got through that got you to where you're at today.
All right.
What's the question?
Yeah, so I'm going to switch back over. So I'm going to ask the keep going moment here. So talk to me about your keep going moment. What should have broke you down? What was a tough moment in your life that you got through?
Yeah, so I would say it would probably come after my second year of coaching. So I will tell you guys, and this is a super long story, so I'm going to edit it
No,
down.
I don't want you to edit. I want you to be yourself. Go ahead.
When I was hired to take over the volleyball program at Hollins, it was brought to me as, listen, our program is struggling. We need athletes. Your first couple of years, your main goal is to recruit, because Hollins plays in a very competitive D3 conference here on the East Coast. They play in the ODAC. They're playing against some really strong schools. It was struggling. We needed athletes. I mean, when I took over, I think I had 4 girls on the roster, and I needed to build that thing up. So I'm a very competitive individual,
I
especially
haven't got that at all from this conversation, so not at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't understand at all, I'm sure. But that first year we went in, we knew it was going to be tough. I was starting like 6 freshmen. And that first year record-wise, didn't do well. I felt like season experience. The girls enjoyed the year. The second year, we were still so young. We were a roster just full of freshmen and a couple sophomores. And 2 years in a row of just feeling like, when are we going to start winning some big matches? And it got to a point where I remember I sat down with another one of my coaches, who's also one of my very close friends, and I said, is this not the right role for me? I feel like maybe I'm doing a disservice to this job.
Right.
And they said, I remember she said, keep pushing. You've got the kids, and you're building this culture, and you're bringing in really strong athletes. Like, it's going to come, but it's going to take some time. And so then we head into season 3, and we start winning, and we start upsetting teams. 4th year, we're like competing in the ODAC, in our conference for wins. And it just kind of started rolling from there. But after that second season, where I had 2 seasons in a row where I think we won a combined
You're in the bottom.
6 matches. I remember it was tough. And I played at Bridgewater, which we played in the conference championship every year.
Right.
And I played with, when I was in college, my outside hitter was conference player of the year. I mean, I came from winning programs. So those first 2 years were really tough, and it knocked me down. And I really thought to myself, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do. So knowing I was struggling with it, I started kind of looking at others for advice. Being so close to Virginia Tech, I used to go down and watch the Virginia Tech volleyball practices. They were great about welcoming me in and letting me sit there and watch practice, and going and watching D1 coaches running drills online and things like that. It made a huge difference. And also just communicating with the girls on the team, and they knew my goals, and they knew that they were a part of something special that was growing. So keeping them, with me and heading towards the same goal, it meant everything.
That is one of my favorite. I feel like I find myself saying that every week now, Dave. We're like, every keep going when we get out, I just fall in love with it, because for our aspiring coaches, for our college coaches, you hit that point where, like, is it me? Like, is this my boat that I'm crashing like the Titanic right now? Like, this is my dream, and I'm not taking advantage of it. But then you get to that 2-year mark where you're kind of at rock bottom, and you had the perseverance to put your pants on, the big girl pants on, go out there year 3 and change the culture of that program forever. I think it's a lesson for our listeners today that, like, hate to say it, but just keep going in the process. You could have easily bowed out and no one would have saw any shame in that. The fact that you kept going is inspiring for you and your family and for your kids, but for the next wave of college coaches. And that's why we do this. That's what it's all about. Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, that's so good. Knowing failure is part of the game, part of the life. You just got to keep moving forward. Success will take time, but it will eventually work out for you.
Yeah.
You might be in the middle of struggles. You might be in the middle of failure. You might be hit with some adversity in your life, your sport, anything in your life. You just got to keep on moving forward through that hard time and believe it will get better for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Doubling down on those, the misfortunes, right? Those can kind of go by the wayside. They can be out of your control at times, but doubling down on your controllables and doing what you can with what you have, I should say. So amazing. Well, Kat, we are at like the 30-minute mark, and I know it is a family Sunday for you, but what we like to do is popcorn questions at the end, give you a little bit of face time to let our listeners know you. So, Dave, you know every week, man, I never start because I have to think of a question. So, Dave, it's all you.
You know, I'm going to start off with what's your favorite athlete?
Oh, wow. Okay, I've got two.
Go for it.
First off is Bo Jackson. I am number one Bo Jackson fan.
Wow.
He, to me, yes, I feel like if he had not had that injury just totally take him out, I think everyone would choose him to be number one. I just find him to be incredible. And I love his story. I think he is someone who if you really get to know his story, talk about someone that kept going. That was, I feel like it was him. The other one I've got to say, so I'm a little bit old school. Like when I was younger, I can remember sitting around watching the Dream Team, and just being in awe of them. I love Charles Barkley.
Wow.
He, to me, is number one, hilarious. And two, I think I know he's gotten so many awards, All-Star, MVP, but I do think he is so underrated. And so I would say Bo Jackson on the athletic side, but Charles Barkley keeps me laughing. He's a crowd favorite.
Those are amazing answers, and I would have
you can't go wrong with those two. Those are some inspiring stories and great.
I agree. I would have never taken you for a Charles Barkley fan, honestly. Wow, I love that. No, I'm here for it.
Oh my. Yes, I love him. My husband gives me a hard time, but I just find him to be so funny. And he, I watch the NBA. He actually he's pretty smart about it. I don't know. I'm a big fan. I like him. He cracks me up.
Nope, I'm here for it. Okay, I guess my next question would be, when it comes to the world,
those are two all-timers. Pat, what do you got? Are you still with us?
Hold on, give me a second. Can you guys hear me okay?
I don't know if we lost Pat or not, but I'll ask another question here. So, you there, Pat?
Go ahead.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to roll into another question here for you. So we talked a lot about mental health and what you do. What is just one thing that you're going to do this week for your mental health?
One thing I'm going to do for my mental health this week would be kind of similar to earlier. I'm taking time to myself.
Yes.
When you are kind of swamped all week, it's and that is actually something when I had my son that my doctor said to me that really stuck with me. And he said, listen, you're now entering this world of, you work full time, you're a mom, you've got your family.
Yep.
It's so important to just take time to yourself. So that is, I do that a little bit every day. Whether it's going on a walk or just kind of maybe just taking a book and reading a little bit.
Yep.
Kind of a nice way to check in with myself internally, make sure I'm feeling strong, because also, I kind of put pressure on myself to be okay for my son and for my family. So, it's important to just kind of check in internally with yourself, give yourself, some grace with little things maybe throughout the week that don't work out as planned, and just, keep going.
I love it. There's the mantra. Hopefully, Dave, you guys can hear me better with my camera off. I think the hotel was like not any more service for me, I guess. My question, actually, I was looking forward to this one too, and of course it broke up on me. You're stranded on a desert island. Okay. You need two teammates that are going to help you through it. What two teammates you picking?
All right. Can this be people I've played with?
I would go with people you've played with. Yes.
Okay. Number one, oh boy, this is tough. All right, I'm gonna go one. I've got a former teammate. It's kind of a crazy story. We were best friends in college. She was one of my middle hitters. Her name's Heather. And then we ended up marrying cousins. So now we're kind of related. Our kids go to school together. It's a whole crazy thing.
That sounds like someone that would help you, Kat. Yeah, it sounds like someone that would help you. Yep.
She is, for one, she's incredibly smart. She actually, our senior year of college, was named like academic scholar athlete of the entire conference. So I'm choosing her. She's incredible. She's also a mother of 6, so she can get out of any kind of deserted island.
Yep, she's a superhero. She's a superhero. Yep.
Yeah. She'll probably put me on her back and just swim to shore. She's awesome. And then my second would be one of my other college teammates. Her name's Crystal. She is just a ball of love and fun and energy. We are still really, really close to this day. And she's about 6'1". So for some reason, I just feel like that could help us. And, so I'm choosing those two. They were both my middle hitters in college, and they brought a lot of pain to people. So I think they could help me out. And they're both just incredible.
I love that answer, and I hopefully you can still hear me.
Answer.
Hopefully you can still hear me with my camera on.
Can't go wrong with them. I don't know if we lost Pat again or not.
Yeah, I'm still here. There, I got to stay off camera, I think. Can you guys hear me again? Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me again. I just texted Dave behind the scenes. No, perfect. I got to stay camera off. I don't know what happened to my service here. But, Kat, I do have one more question for you today. Something I did a really bad job on for about 70 episodes was never asking our amazing guests about what we could do for them. What can we do for you? You've made such an impact today over the last 40 minutes. You make such an impact in my life. How can we impact you not only impact you, but help you with your endeavors going forward?
I think keeping this podcast rolling is so important. When you guys posted that I was going to be on, I had so many people in my life message me and saying, "What is this? What kind of podcast is this? What are you going to be on?" One of those was my nephew, who he's going to be he just committed to play Division II golf next year. And, letting go. And so it kind of sparked a lot of conversations between myself and friends and family and former teammates. I mean, people wanted to know what this was. So in my opinion, you guys doing this helps out more than you know, mainly because it just starts conversation. And I think conversation is what leads to help and change and all of that and better understanding. Because, a lot of things, and this is something I used to work with my team on, when you talk about mental health, you want to help those who might be struggling. But I think it's also these conversations about mental health can also help others, if that makes sense.
It does.
I used to tell my girls all the time, I would say, when you're a team, you're around each other a lot, things happen, issues might come, but giving people the benefit of the doubt, trusting that they're also doing their best, really bodes well for everybody. And so I think that the mental health conversation can also be really helpful for those who might not be struggling with mental health, but they can learn how to help others as well and how to give people some grace, show people love, because at the end of the day, it's so helpful and that's what everybody wants. So I think that these kind of podcasts and these kind of conversations can really help a very large amount of individuals, no matter where they are, in their journey of life, really.
Yeah, Kat,
Yeah.
that was a beautiful answer. Here's what I'll say.
Yeah,
I was
that's a
sitting
clip
here.
right there.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
No, that's a clip right there.
That's
Just
clip
talking
worthy.
about helping one another.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I was sitting here, and I'll wrap us up here in about 30 seconds. But I was sitting here wondering why God was like cutting my service right now. It's because I'm tearing up over here at this hotel, and I think it wasn't time to show that at 8:45 in the morning. So, Kat, that was an amazing answer, and that's why we chose to do this. I sat here with Luke 2 years ago now, and we tried to impact one person. And the fact that like this is sparking family conversations is just, I would have never expected it. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for taking your time. And thank you for being such a beautiful person inside and out. Like you've absolutely impacted my life, and you continue to impact lives. I know I see Dave has not stopped smiling for the last 30 minutes, and that's a really good thing. So, Dave, anything to wrap us up with, Kat?
No, thank you so much for coming on. I know you've impacted me and so many more people out there today. So thanks for coming on today and giving your time.
Well, thank you guys. This was really fun. I know, Pat, when we talked about this in Chicago, it felt so far away. And, last night I was sitting here thinking, and I was like, man, I was really looking forward to this. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing and keeping this conversation going.
No, Kat, I appreciate you. Continue to have that keep going mantra, because we love what you're doing in the community right now for volleyball players across the world, I should say now. So, Kat, thanks for all you do. Dave, thanks for being here. Luke's right next to me on the couch in the lobby. We're very grateful. We're very happy that we have the following and the pull that we do. So, love you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday. And above all else, keep going.
Keep going. See you guys later.
Bye, guys.